Welcome back, or if you're new here, hi, hello, how are ya? As you guys know, I've been reading a lot of Rick Riordan books. I've read the Percy Jackson series. I finished the Heroes of Olympus, which by now it should be up on my channel. Now that we're done with those two, we are going to be reading the Trials of Apollo, which I'm super excited because it's going to be following Apollo now that the war with the giants, Gaia, Gia, I don't really know. I've been calling her Gaia. I started reading the Hidden Oracle book and they call her Gia, so I don't really know if it's true or not for pronunciation, but let me know if it's Gaia, Gia, I don't know. I don't think it really matters all that much. Super excited to read the Trials of Apollo, see what's going on, see why he was exiled, see how he comes back to being a god. I don't really know if that's gonna happen. I think I kind of spoiled it for myself though in one portion of it with Jason. It's because I was reading the summary of another book that I thought was gonna slot in between the different books. Like I was trying to find out the different order of it. Yeah, I might have spoiled for myself that Jason dies, which I really hope that's not actually accurate. I hope it's kind of like a loophole and he doesn't actually die. So I don't know. So we are starting with the Hidden Oracle. That is the first book in the Trials of Apollo series. I actually started it. I'm around 21% of the way through the first book. I started reading it through my Kindle. I borrowed it through Libby. Thankfully it was available on Libby. So happy about that because for the Heroes of Olympus series, I ended up having to buy every single one of them on Kindle because it was just not available in time on Libby and I just didn't want to wait too long for that. So that happened. Minus the Lost Hero, which was available on Kindle Unlimited, thankfully. I am aiming to finish this tomorrow and I know I said this a lot. I know that because I edited the video and I said it a lot, but I said that a lot in the Heroes of Olympus video where I was like, I'm gonna finish it tomorrow. I'm gonna finish this X, Y, and Z. I didn't actually do that and it took like a whole month in order for me to finish the entire series because they were 500 plus page books, okay? They are chunky books compared to the Percy Jackson series, okay? So it took a lot longer and I also wanted to like relish in it, but also, I don't even know. It was weird because those were the only books I was reading because I didn't want to like ruin the vibe of it and like that made me go slower somehow. I don't know. It was just the whole thing. But anyways, I think I am definitely gonna finish this tomorrow or in 2 days, which is, you know, 2 days at the latest, just because I feel like if I listen to the audiobook and I read at night, the first book is only like 300 something pages. It's really not that much and I'm already 21% of the way through, so that means I only have 80-ish%, you know? And if I read like at least 10% tonight, like I think we'll make time. We'll make progress. I think I'm gonna get through more than 10% tonight. I feel like I'm gonna end up getting like 25% more and I'll finish it out in the day after that. So I'm hoping max 2 days for me to finish this book, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna try a little bit of a different format for this video, so let me know if you guys like the vlog version of this or if you like kind of this type of video where it's more sit down with the updates as I read through the series. So let me know which one you guys prefer, but super excited to finish through. And within the first 21% of the book, we find out quite a bit. I've gotten to the point where Apollo realizes that he's a human. He befriends Meg, who also can like fling dead like fruit and stuff, and trash and everything, so she's been helping Apollo get to Percy. They got to Percy and Sally's pregnant with Percy's half-sister. That is crazy. That's happening. And then also Percy helps Apollo and Meg get to Camp Half-Blood because Apollo's whole thinking is like, well, I have Chiron there to help me, and if I can get there, maybe I can, you know, find a way to get a quest and the whole thing and do what he usually did to get back into the good graces of his dad Zeus. So he's doing that. They've gotten to Camp Half-Blood, kind of like right now they're at the point where they're on like the west end. So like Percy was saying how on the east end, I think the east end, I don't know directions, but he was saying usually on the east end is where people go and it's a lot easier to get to, but on the west end there's like a lot more mystical forces happening that might make it harder. And Percy's like, well, I don't know if you're gonna actually make it through because you're a human, you're not a demigod. So that's gonna be a whole thing to see whether or not he's gonna make it through. So we'll figure that out. I really do like Apollo. He's quite sassy and I don't know, it's interesting to see a different point of view because like we've been in the point of view of the demigod, but now we're in the head of Apollo, who is an actual god, and he's been living like thousands of years as a god. So to see his point of view as now a human and experiencing the world as a human with the past thoughts as a god, I think that's going to be super interesting. And I feel like with his point of view we'll get like a little bit more of an insight to the godly realm, because like with the Heroes of Olympus and the Percy Jackson series, series, we only got so much information about the actual Olympians and the god, but now seeing it from Apollo's point of view, we get all these like little tidbits and nuggets that we would have never gotten since he is an actual Greek god. So that's super interesting. That's super cool. I'm super excited to finish this book, and so I will update you guys when I finish this book. So I finished the first book of the Trials of Apollo series, which is the Hidden Oracle, and I forget where I last updated you guys on like how much I read of the book, but I think I talked about Meg. So basically Apollo is a human now, and he has to go through trials to essentially gain his god level status back because Zeus is punishing him for what happened with the Heroes of Olympus series, the war, and basically Octavius, whatever, starting this whole situation with the Romans and the oracles and whatever. So he turns into a human, and the first person he encounters is Meg, but also like a group of cronies from the Triumphites, something like that. Basically, they're like the cronies of the main villain group of this entire series. He encounters them, and then Meg comes and saves Apollo from them, and that's how it starts their whole friendship situation. He takes her to Camp Half-Blood. They find their way over there. They learn about like what happened with the oracles and how like nobody can send messages or anything like that too. They had to go on a quest. There's like other different types of oracles, more than just Delphi or Delphi, whatever. And we see Rachel. Rachel comes back. That's great. Percy comes back for a little bit too. Will and Nico, oh my god. Will and Nico are actually together. They are boyfriend and boyfriend, and it's so freaking cute. I was hoping that was the case at the end of the Heroes of Olympus series, but I didn't want to assume anything about Will. So I was like, I hope they're at least friends. They're more than friends, besties. So cute. They are so freaking cute. I love them so much. I feel like Will brings out a different side of Nico, and I'm super happy about that. Oh, another thing about Nico. So I thought that Nico would like never be able to shadow travel again after what happened at the end of Heroes of Olympus. He was overextending himself. I wasn't sure if it was permanent or not. Turns out it's not. Turns out he just needed a little bit of rest, and now he can shadow travel again. I'm sure he shouldn't overexert himself. I don't think he should do that still, but he can do that without fading away, so that's good. That's great. Love to see it. Everybody knows that Leo is not dead, so that's good. It doesn't leave for like a surprise thing or anything, because Leo does end up coming back. They do end up finding him. I was not expecting Meg to betray Apollo. I don't know, maybe it was naive of me. Maybe I was hoping that that wouldn't be the direction that they're gonna go in, but Meg betrays Apollo, and I'm kind of sad about it. I feel like Meg was really entertaining out of the two. Meg brought out a different side of Apollo that I really liked. Like, you would be able to see growth in Apollo with Meg by his side, but she betrayed him because one of the main bad guys, villains of this whole series is her stepdad, Nero, which is also one of Apollo's descendants. Like, okay, so I understand she's like 12 years old, so I get why she is like in deep denial, the rivers in Egypt sort of way. At the same time, it's kind of annoying to be the reader and reading it. We all know that Nero is both Nero and the Beast. Like Apollo says it, Nero also like admits to it, but it's kind of annoying how he's like brainwashed her so much to be like, oh no, that's like a different person. Like that's a completely different person. That's not me. And gaslighting her so that when it comes down to it, she doesn't want to flip sides because it's like, oh, he's my stepfather. Like he's cared for me when my dad died and X, Y, and Z. But it's like, girl, he killed your father. You even said so yourself that the Beast killed your father. Now you're accepting him as your stepfather? Like, make it make sense. She still has a claim over Apollo because the whole thing about like claiming him to like do the trials with whatever, that situation from the beginning of the book, yeah, that's still a thing. I think that's what they're making it seem like in the second book because they started the Dark Prophecy. So I don't really know how I feel about it. Overall, it was a fun book. Apollo is kind of annoying. He's like straight up like everything you would think about Apollo as a god. Like he's very narcissistic and full of himself and whatnot. Everything you could possibly think of. He is funny though. Like I genuinely laughed out loud reading some parts of this book. He is actually pretty funny in like I don't even know. Like someone described it pretty well in a Goodreads review and I was like, yes, that is exactly the vibe he was giving. I can't even find it. But despite it being funny and despite it being everything you would think of when you think about Apollo, I was still kind of annoyed. There were definitely parts of it where I was like, you know, that literally probably makes no sense to you guys. But for me, I'm just like, that's all I can say to explain how I felt in certain parts of it because of how like annoying and frustrating he is. But overall, it was a fine read. It was good for what it was, I guess. It kicks off the Trials of Apollo series and we like understand what's happening and Rick can build upon it. But I don't think this is going to be my favorite one. I really hope that this isn't like the trend of the rest of the spin-off series. Like I really like The Lightning Thief and that's the first book out of the Percy Jackson Half-Blood Chronicles series. But The Lost Hero, which I am super glad that I am not the only one that did not really vibe with the first book like that. I posted my Heroes of Olympus video. I posted it and other people agreed with me on The Lost Hero. And I'm like, I feel so seen. Reading those types of comments, I feel so seen. Because I felt bad for like not liking it that much. But like, I don't know. I'm just over the amnesia part. Honestly, maybe that's why I don't really like the first book in the Trials of Apollo. Because Apollo also kind of has a little bit of amnesia. And like, it's not that bad because he still remembers certain stuff. But like, at the same time, I thought we would get some tea because it's Apollo and he like knows all the information about the gods. But no, he doesn't because he has a human brain and so he doesn't retain every single bit of information that he can as a god. So whatever. It is what it is. We're gonna build upon it though, so I'm not even upset about it. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5, which is really not bad. I will always say this, 3 is a fine book. Sometimes it's just average, sometimes it's good, but like it's just not my cup of tea, or maybe I'm reading it at the wrong moment in time. So 3 is really not bad. So 3.5 is truly not bad at all. It's a good book for what it is, which is in my opinion set up. I am looking forward to the rest of the series. I do have to say though, I am kind of sad that we no longer have the different point of views. I really liked having multiple point of views in the Heroes of Olympus series. So to go back to one person point of view and it's the first person point of view of Apollo, I am a little sad about that. I did start the Dark Prophecy, which is the second book, and we're reunited with Leo and Calypso and it's Apollo with them. They're trying to find a different oracle. I am blanking completely right now. I've started 2 other books in the meantime, so my brain is just kind of muddled right now. But they are on a mission to find a different oracle, like an older oracle, to help them out with this whole Nero triumvirate, that whole situation. They're trying to find someone to help with that so that they could reclaim the oracle and Apollo can finish his trials. And they're also trying to find Meg. I was spoiled about Leo and Calypso, and I'm starting to see the spoiler take on it. A lot of people, when I was looking it up on Pinterest, they seem to not like Leo and Calypso after the Heroes of Olympus series, which now that I'm reading them, I can kind of understand. Calypso, no offense. Listen, I'm a girl's girl. I will defend women's rights and women's wrongs, especially fictional women's rights and women's wrongs, okay? Don't get it twisted. But Calypso, I don't know. Like in the second book, she's feeling very judgmental and I don't really like that. I don't know, like maybe it's just me, but I just feel like every little thing that Leo is doing is like getting on her last nerve. I feel like if you hated him on the island and now you like him, you kind of have an idea of what you're getting into by dating Leo. And now it feels like you're dating him now. Maybe she's a little bit bitter about being human and not having her usual abilities. And now she's lashing out on anybody and everybody that is around her, including Leo. And I feel like Leo doesn't really deserve that. Granted, Leo maybe has the emotional maturity of like a middle schooler at times, maybe. Again, Calypso knew exactly what she was getting into, when, especially because she spent so much time on the island with him and she like didn't like him, and then she started to develop feelings for him. But I don't know, make it make sense, but at the same time, whatever. It's like not that big of a deal unless it becomes a big deal to the point where it's like kind of annoying to read, which I will let you guys know if it becomes to that point. But for now, we are like 2% of the way through the Dark Prophecy. This one's a lot longer than the Hidden Oracle. The Hidden Oracle was like 300 something pages and the Dark Prophecy is 432. So it's like a little bit over 100 pages more, which is not bad compared to the Heroes of Olympus series, which was like 500 plus pages, but it's still longer. I'm hoping I can get through this in like 2 weeks. I'm just gonna try to rush through it. I don't know. I didn't want to rush through the Heroes of Olympus. Like, that didn't feel right. But I feel like, just based on the vibe that I got for the first book, rushing through the Trials of Apollo may not be that bad. I will let you guys know. But other than that, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Hidden Oracle. Nothing to write home about, but it definitely was a good start to the series. I kind of wish I read the Chalice of the Gods before I started the series, but we live and we learn. We're already in this, so I will read it after I finish this series, and then I'll go on to Magnus Chase and the Kane Chronicles and stuff, and like all the little side books and whatnot, and then we'll go from there. I will see you guys when I finish the Dark Prophecy. This is such a bad angle and such bad lighting, but I just finished the second book, The Dark Prophecy, in the Trials of Apollo series, and I just figured that I would just let you guys know my thoughts and feelings right now as I just finished it, instead of waiting so it just doesn't blur together when I start reading the third book. I mean, I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars, not because it's bad or anything, but I feel like there's a couple different things that kind of go into this. First off, I have been so sleep deprived this past week and a half, but this past week in particular has been really bad for me. So I feel like my interest in things is just not really the same when I am feeling so tired all the time. Like, I'm still reading things, don't get me wrong, I'm still watching things, consuming media, but none of it's really hitting the same because I'm so tired. And that's not any fault of the book, but I feel like ratings are so personal to readers, and like whatever given moment in time that they read a book and how they felt about it and how that impacts their feelings about the book, I feel like that is their true rating. And of course, ratings change all the time, so if I reread this book, maybe it will be a different rating, but for now it's a 3. It is what it is. It's not a bad book by any means. It's not a bad book, but I think the biggest thing with The Dark Prophecy is I really can't tell if I don't like Apollo's point of view. Don't get me wrong, he's definitely funny at times, but other times he's just kind of annoying. And I know that's the point because he's like, I guess like that's the point of him being a god. He's like kind of conceited and whatever. At the same time, it's kind of annoying. I don't know if it's just me though. Like, let me know if you guys also were conflicted or like did not like Apollo's point of view, because I don't know. He's like very arrogant. He's very annoying. He's like kind of an asshole, kind of a jerk, kind of self-centered, kind of a narcissist at times. And like, I don't know. It's kind of getting a little tiring reading from his point of view all the time. I kind of wish it was like the Heroes of Olympus where they switch point of views. Like, it would have been really cool to hear from not only Apollo's point of view, but also Meg's point of view, Leo's point of view, Calypso, Emmy, Joe, all these people. Like, I think it would have been really, really cool to see everybody's point of view on this. And we didn't. So yeah, now, I mean, Apollo is going to keep being our, like, that's the point of view we're going to be hearing from the rest of the series. So I guess I just have to hope and pray that it gets better. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if it's because I'm tired that I feel this way, or I genuinely feel conflicted about Apollo's point of view. I don't really know. Honestly, I have no idea. And then also too, so Meg ends up coming back and joining Apollo and like helping him out and whatever, because she opens her eyes to the abuse that she's gone through with Nero, her stepdad, and whatever. I feel like this could have been a very great opportunity to talk more about manipulation, emotional abuse, and just the impacts that it does to a person, and just really just doing a deep dive on that topic, especially because it's a YA book. I feel like some people could argue that because it is a YA book that you don't really want to go that much into it, but I want to argue against the opposite side. Like, I want to argue that you should do it, because if the primary audience is young adults, high schoolers and under, if that's the primary demographic, don't you want to educate younger people on what it means to be emotionally abused, so that when they see it in, you know, their friends, family members, or even like if they're experiencing it themselves, like, don't you want them to know so that they can get help in that sort of situation and kind of prevent a situation like what Meg was going through? I don't know. I feel like that's a really great opportunity to really deep dive into that, because the things that Meg went through with Nero and how he really just like gaslit, manipulated her, and just created this really toxic, emotionally abusive relationship with Meg in order for his own benefit and his own self-fulfilling whatever, that was really fucked up. And she was very young when this happened, when her dad died, and just all of that, like, it's just kind of messed up. And I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more into that. She's only 12, so I get it. You know, people are still processing these things. Like, even adults right now, people who have trauma now as adults, they're still processing things. So yeah, of course, it's not going to be like a perfect representation. And also, it's from Apollo's point of view. So if we're going to go with the narrative that he's like super conceited and like self-centered and whatever, then I don't think he would even see like the full picture of like everything that happened with Meg, because we only really saw a majority of all of that in that one section where like she speaks the prophecy with Commodus and whatever. But we should dive into that a little bit more. Maybe I'm speaking a little too premature, and maybe in the later books in the series we'll talk about it more. I really hope we do. But if there isn't, I think it's a really big missed opportunity, because yeah, Meg's story is very sad. It's actually really sad, and it makes me sad to see that someone so young, because she's only 12 in the first and second book, for me to see that in someone that's 12 and experience it when they're younger than 12, it does make me sad. And I just feel like she deserves a lot better. Also too, I don't really like the Georgie thing, like the Georgie Apollo, maybe she's my daughter, maybe she's not. Maybe they're gonna bring it up more in the future, I don't really know, but it just felt so random. Like, I get why they did it, but like at the same time, it's a little off, a little random. Maybe it's just me, maybe I just like didn't really vibe with that and I don't want to connect to it. I don't really know. I couldn't really tell you, but yeah, I really like Joe and Emmy. They're super cute, and I want them to adopt me. If I could, I would go to the way station and hope that they adopt me, because they're so cute. Also, I listened to this book, like half of it in audio book format, and tell me why. In the show, they call her Thalia. I'm calling her Talia, because that's what makes sense in my brain when I see that spelling. In the audiobook, they call her, what did they say? It was Talia. Thalia. They call her Thalia. In the audible version, they call her Thalia. Can we all just come to a consensus about what the pronunciation of her name is? I'm guessing Rick wants it as Thalia, if that's what they agreed upon for the series. But can we just call her Talia? I'm calling her Talia. I don't really care. That's what makes sense in my brain. I don't care. Talia, it's Talia in my brain. You can fight with a brick wall. I don't know. What else is there? Also, I mean, I truly appreciate how they're exploring different literary devices for the prophecies. Like, we had a haiku, now we have a sonnet, and I'm sure they're going to do something else with another prophecy in the future and future prophecies until they figure out this whole Trials of Apollo thing, and we can get back to our regular scheduled business with the prophecies and Rachel saying it as a normal prophecy. I'm kind of over it. I don't know. Like, I appreciate that. Also, nothing about the series is very straightforward, and a part of me wishes that it was. Like, I'm not saying to have a boring story. I'm not saying that. But there are certain things that drive me a little nuts on the fact that they're like, I don't remember this part, or like, I don't remember what they were saying about this, or I can't tell you this. And they like withhold information. And I get that it's a tool for suspension. I get it. But it's really giving me the same vibes as The Lost Hero. And you guys know from the last video that I made about this for the Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero and the Son of Neptune really just drove me up the wall with the whole withholding information because of memory loss. And I just really hate that plot device so much. And I feel like we really don't know all that much about what's to come. And I just feel like it's kind of getting a little annoying. I don't like that. I want to know a little bit more. And I feel like it's only really gonna come together just like how it only really came together for the Heroes of Olympus in the last 2 books, if not just the last book. And I don't like that, because then it feels like I'm being forced into reading this series, like this entire like Trials of Apollo series, just so I could figure out at the end what they are alluding to and what they're talking about. And I don't think that's right. I feel like it should be like the Percy Jackson series, where every book, every book is leading up to something bigger, but also also at the same time, every book has its own like adventure that kind of wraps up, you know? And it's a YA book, so I feel like it should do that, you know? When I think about YA books, like a lot of YA books just do a clean ending. Like it's all like, I mean, there's loose ends when it's a series, of course, so people read on, but it's not like this. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but I think that's like my biggest gripe with me. And it's kind of that, among a couple other different factors, like Apollo's point of view, is kind of making me not want to like rush to finish the series. Like with Percy Jackson, I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. I want to keep reading this series. With the Heroes of Olympus, once I got past the Mark of Athena, I was like, oh my God, I love this series. I want to keep reading it. But for this one, I'm about to go on the third one. If this third one doesn't pick up, I don't really know what I'm gonna do, because I'm like dragging my feet picking up the next book. I mean, it doesn't help that Libby is playing games with me, and I have literally had to put things on hold. And now that I finished the second one, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna end up buying the Kindle version of it, because like, what are we doing here? Libby is playing games with me, but I don't even know. I don't even know. Please. I really hope that it picks up. I am praying that it gets better. Do I have to burn some blue food for this to pick up, for my prayers to be answered? Do I have to burn my coffee? Like, do I have to burn all of my favorite foods? Like, come on. And I'm also a little bit scared, because there was a review that I read about the Dark Prophecy, and someone was saying how they really like the Trials of Apollo because it's like a very, very different and distinct point of view versus the Percy Jackson series. And they're saying how the Percy Jackson series and Magnus Chase and all the other series that are similar to that kind of blend together. So that's why they didn't really like it like that. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I love Percy Jackson, don't get me wrong. I love Leo, and Leo is very similar to Percy. But if Magnus Chase is like super similar to Percy, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. I mean, it's about Norse mythology, so like it's different, but I don't even know. I feel like I'm going on a whole tangent about this, and none of it makes sense, because like I said, I'm very sleep deprived right now. I don't know if you can see my under eye bags. It's so bad. I don't know why I can't sleep like a normal person. It's so bad. I want to cry. I literally want to cry when I think about it, but that is it. That is end of rant, end of TED Talk. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. I'm gonna probably start reading the third book either tonight or tomorrow. We will see. I don't really know yet, but it will be this week. I kind of have a lot of things I have to do. I have to edit. I have to film like a bunch of stuff tomorrow, like a bunch, just so I can like literally hack away at this editing queue. Like, I figured in my brain, if I pre-film a lot of stuff, then it will be easier for me to like do all the deliverables for these videos. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, because again, I'm sleep deprived, so I don't really know how motivated I'm gonna feel tomorrow when it actually comes down to it. I also have to prepare like a couple different things for like my acting stuff, so that's also happening. And I also made goals, like writing goals, that I want to get done for like the first half of the year. It's already February, guys, and I like feel like I'm so behind on that, so I have to hack away at that. And yeah, am I putting a lot of insane pressure on myself? Yes, I am, and that's a really bad habit of mine, but you know what? It is what it is. And maybe that's why I am sleep deprived, because I am putting like an insane amount of pressure on myself, but I don't even know. Oh, before we go, they also mentioned Grover. They mentioned Grover at the end of the second book, so I'm super happy about that. I really hope in the third book we get more Grover time. I finished The Burning Maze last night, and I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I feel like I have so many complicated feelings about this series, just because, as we all know, I just don't like Apollo's point of view. So I just feel a little conflicted. But I do have to say, I think I listened to like 40-50% of the book through audiobook, and that helped so much. When I tell you, it made it so much more fun and bearable with the audiobook. It just helped me so much, and it helped me re-engage with the book, because otherwise, when I was reading it with just my eyeballs on my Kindle, it was like, I don't know, man. Maybe because of my bias towards Apollo and not really vibing with it and just that seeping into my own like head narrator versus the audiobook narrator. But I do like this book the best out of the 3 so far, which isn't saying a lot, but I did end up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. So we got some few special appearances from past book or like other series book characters that we know and love. We got Grover, which it's about time. It's about damn time that we saw Grover again, because where the fuck was he during all of the Heroes of Olympus? Look me dead in the eye and tell me he had a good reason to not be there. I think there was an actual reason why he was not there, and I think they even said it in the Heroes of Olympus. But why the fuck was he not there? Not even in the last book of the Heroes of Olympus. Tell me. I don't know. I think it's a little weird. I think it's a little suspicious that he wasn't there, especially since it was literally Mother Earth that they were fighting in the Heroes of Olympus. And you're telling me Grover, the Lord of, I think his new title is like Lord of the Wild, whatever, you're telling me he's not gonna help? Weird. Suspicious. I don't know. But anyways, we saw Grover. Love Grover. Love to see him. Glad he's going back to Camp Half-Blood because it's about time. It's about time that he saw Annabeth, Percy, quite literally everybody. Chiron, everybody. We also saw Coach Hedge, which love Coach Hedge. He's very violent, and he still is. But love that for him. He has a family now with Melly. And I don't know his child's name, but babysitter, Coach Hedge, they're staying with Piper and his dad, which by the way, we also saw Piper. Piper and Jason broke up, which I was like, why the fuck did they break up? I thought at first Jason broke up with Piper. Turns out Piper broke up with Jason. If you disagree with this, let me know, and I want to hear your reasoning, because personally for me, I feel like them breaking up was kind of a cop-out, you know? And I feel like maybe it was because they don't, like, people didn't receive Piper and Jason all that well, and maybe they can't really compare to Percy and Annabeth, but like, realistically speaking, I don't think we should be, we shouldn't be comparing Percy and Annabeth to Jason and Piper. They're completely different couples. They came from completely different circumstances, and I feel like if Jason and Piper had more time to have like more of a development sort of situation, it could have worked out. I did kind of get a little bit of an inkling, a little bit of a suspicion that maybe they were gonna go about it in like maybe Piper is asexual, maybe she is gay, maybe she's bi, maybe, you know, she's questioning things. That's what I thought they were gonna do, but they didn't. And I don't remember the exact reasoning, but I just remember reading it like, so you just don't think that you know what it's like to like your real relationship, your real self outside of Jason and the circumstances that you guys were in? I don't know. I think it would have been cool to see her question, like maybe if she was asexual, which would have been, honestly, I think that would have been really interesting to see, especially since she is the daughter of Aphrodite and the daughter of love, essentially. So I think that would have been really interesting. How would the daughter of love herself, and how would Aphrodite and like everybody else even go about Piper being asexual, and like how does that go into like love, godlyhood, all that stuff? I think it would have been a cool topic to explore, but they didn't, so I don't know. Also, another thing, Jason died. What? I mean, I was already kind of spoiled about this, but I was like, no way. No way he actually died. Jason died. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna keep it that way. Like, the way Rick was writing about it, it kind of felt a little final. So, what's happening here? What's good? I don't even know, dude. I don't even know. I mean, I'm really hoping that there's like a whole other thing to get Jason back. I mean, Jason wasn't my favorite character, but Jason deserved better than that, okay? It was just like, we're already going through so much with figuring out Meg and her origins in her family home and the seeds. Then them trying to figure out how to get to the maze, even though there's like a prophecy that Apollo's gonna die and that stuff, and just trying to figure out all this stuff with the Emperor and like their plan and just try to stop them and whatever. He up and dies. He just dies. Like, what the heck? I don't know. Honestly, I think Jason deserved a little bit better, but let me know what you guys think about Jason and his untimely exit, because what else? Leo made a short appearance and he came back from Camp Jupiter, I believe. So I think the next book we're going to see Frank and Hazel. And I feel like we're also going to hear more about Octavius and what's going on with him. So that should be interesting. I don't really know. honestly, the whole like big villain of the Trials of Apollo series, I'm not really digging it all that much. Like, it's kind of similar to the Heroes of Olympus for me. I feel like they're making it out to seem like it's like a really big deal, but it kind of feels like low stakes. Like, I feel like with the original 5 Percy Jackson series, the Half-Blood Chronicles, Luke and eventually Kronos, it seemed like such a big weight to the book series, and it was this overarching villain of the entire 5 books, but each single one of the books within the 5 had like even more stakes. Like, it kept increasing and increasing the stakes of what they had to lose until the last book of the 5, and it was like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening? A lot is going down, and I really, like, literally this could be the end of the world. But I feel like with the Heroes of Olympus, it was like, yeah, they had this looming thing with Gaia, and yeah, she could potentially end the world, but at the same time, she's been sleeping this whole time, and even at the end, she was awake for like a few hours, and then she went back to sleep. So was it really that big of a threat? Because all of her little cronies, her little minions, weren't all that threatening. They took them down so easily. So I don't really know. And the whole plot with the confusion of the gods just felt like it was just added on just for the sake of kind of raising the stakes, but not really, because they emphasize it so many times in the books about how the gods can't even do anything. So like, that's why they rely on demigods, you know? So it just feels like low stakes. And I don't know, it's kind of the same with this one. Like, Apollo is a god, yes, but like, he's a human now, and he relies a lot on other people to like kind of get the things done. Like, yes, he is important, don't get me wrong, this is literally about him. Like, this entire 5-part series is about him and him getting to be back to becoming a god, but he literally doesn't even remember half the stuff. And so what he's really there for is to kind of like fill in that gap when people don't know what's going on. He's the only one that could talk to the arrow and like that whole prophecy side, so there's also that. And also the emperors, they just kind of have a vendetta against Apollo, and like, that's it. It feels like very low stakes. Like, it kind of feels like political in a sense, like the politics of the gods and the Romans, but it's not present day politics. It's like politics that have already happened like years and years and years ago, and we're just kind of hearing about it in the grapevine right now, and it's just not as many stakes because of that, because it just feels very distant, you know? Like, we're not very like connected to it. And I feel like the only reason why, personally for me at least, why I feel connected to this story in any semblance is because of Meg and the characters that show up throughout the journey. So like Grover, Piper, Jason, Coach Hedge, like all these people that we met before and also are demigods, and we've grown to learn and love. Leo. How can I forget Leo? But you know what I mean. All the people that we've grown to know and love in the past series, and who have a lot more to lose than Apollo does. I think that's the biggest reason why I'm not vibing with it. Because even though in the book they are like, well, Apollo's still a human, he can still die. In my brain, I'm like, well, I don't think he's gonna actually die. I feel like he has a lot of plot armor right now, even though they're putting him in a lot of dangerous situations. He still has like a lot of plot armor. For Rick to kill off Apollo, I really don't think that would happen. Like, there's just a lot to lose, because I mean, it would make a lot more of an interesting story if Apollo actually did die, because then it'd be like, what would happen to his children and all the legacy stuff and like the dynamics of Olympus. Like, I think that would be really interesting to see. At the end of the day, it's still a YA series, so I really don't think they're gonna kill off Apollo. And because I know that in my head, it just feels like, okay, well, now we're just hearing the inner thoughts of this very conceited, very selfish, very self-absorbed god that's not even a god anymore, and we're just kind of like learning more about the prophecies, the emperors, and that's that. So I don't know. I still like the book, don't get me wrong. I gave it a 4 out of 5, so clearly I still liked it, but I just wished that there were more stakes to this. Like, I want to feel like there's actually a big possibility that like something's gonna go down and it's gonna be like a crazy, and it's gonna feel like we have like a lot to lose, because that's the biggest advantage of reading a series, especially something like this where it's like a bunch of spin-off series but you are still connected together with like the same universe, is that you get so emotionally attached to characters as well as the setting and just everything about this world. You get so attached the more you read into it. So I feel like the more books that are out there, we should be like more and more and more emotionally invested. But I don't know. I just feel like for this, it's like I don't really feel that connection, and I don't feel like we're getting deeper and deeper into the Rick Riordan universe. I feel like it's more like this feels like very much like a side plot that we don't necessarily need to read. I mean, clearly, if you want the whole timeline of this universe, you should definitely read it still, but it still feels like very like optional. If you would like to read it, you should read it. But I don't know, maybe I'll feel differently about the 4th and 5th book. Maybe those will be like the saving grace and like really tie it together to like make me fall in love with this series and appreciate it a little bit more. But for now, I'm still feeling a little meh about the series. I'm so sorry if this is your favorite series. I don't even know. But let me know if you guys have gotten this far, what some of your favorite books are within the Trials of Apollo. I would be very interested to hear that, because I kind of got a gauge of that in the Percy Jackson series as well as the Heroes of Olympus. But I feel like for this, it's kind of hard to tell because they kind of all blend in together. No offense. So I'd be very curious to hear about what you guys think and what you guys deem as your favorites in the Trials of Apollo series. And also let me know if you guys feel the same way that I do, because I don't know. I don't want to make it seem like I'm complaining and trashing this series, because I'm not, but I just don't want to feel alone in this, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna read the Tyrant's Tomb probably today, like start it today and finish it off maybe tomorrow. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. But whenever I do finish it, I will let you guys know and keep you guys updated on what I think about it. So I'll see you guys then. So I just got done reading the Tyrant's Tomb, and let me tell you, this book made me go on a emotional roller coaster, and I mean, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved every part of it, but oh my God, I just went through like a whole wave of emotions, and it was a lot. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I think this one's my favorite book out of all of them so far. Like, I was thinking about this too. Like, why did I like this one so much better than the other ones? And I really think that it's because of the battle at Camp Jupiter. The other books, they were fine, but personally for me, and I feel like I've said this in the other updates, so if I'm repeating myself, I'm so sorry. They just felt like such low stake, because they, like, yes, they had to get things done, and yes, things were happening, but it just was like a one-to-one sort of combat, or like very small group of people that it was impacting. But with this, since 2 of the emperors were kind of fucking shit up in the Camp Jupiter, and then that got everybody else involved, it felt like such high stakes, because not only were they going to stop at Camp Jupiter, but they were trying to take over the entire Bay Area. So that was a lot. That was nuts. And the fact that other people had to help and get involved, I think that's what really just sealed the deal for me on why I liked it so much. Like, as much as I like Apollo has its funny moments, and I love Meg. As much as that's true, I feel like because the fact that Apollo is not even a demigod and Meg is just so new to this world, it's just not as fun. I feel like when there's like more developed people, like people, especially people we know and love, that have really been through it and are helping in this situation, and their lives are on the line, kind of like with Jason, I feel like it just makes it so much more impactful, and you just are on the edge of your seat hoping that it works out. So yeah, I really liked it. I almost cried when Frank almost died. I genuinely thought he was gonna die and they weren't gonna bring him back, but they brought him back, and I was like, oh. I mean, I would have been okay if Frank just kicked the bucket too, because then it's kind of like the finality of it all. But the reasoning why he didn't die, I feel like it definitely does make sense. And now he doesn't have a freaking wood, like burning wood, to tie him down and like be a dumb way for him to die. Like, I feel like he really took control of that, and I really like that. The 2-on-1, I feel like, or the 2 versus 2, like Apollo and Frank versus Tarquin and I forget their names. Oh my God, I don't remember their names. But against the 2 emperors, that was a good fight. I liked it. I feel like it just shows Apollo's character growth, that he is becoming a little bit more understanding and a little bit more selfless. So love to see that. We saw Reina. Oh my god, her part about how she's like tired, like she doesn't want to keep being shipped with people, like she wants to come to a relationship and love on her own terms. I really like that part because it's so true. Like people be shipping her with a bunch of people, and like I just feel like, you know, it's tough when people are trying to pit people together and like make them a couple, and it's just a lot of unnecessary pressure. So I'm really glad that she found that happy ending for herself and she became one of the sisters of Artemis's clan. I'm forgetting words right now, so none of this is actually proper terms for what's in the book. I'm so sorry, but she's one of them now, which is really good. We got to see Talia, and Talia was like, it's not your fault. So that's good to hear, because I'm sure Apollo feels very guilty about Jason dying, and I'm still convinced they're gonna find a way to bring Jason back. I am very much on team Jason's not truly dead. Like, he's gonna come back. Love to see Frank in his leadership position, and also Hazel being promoted to Praetor now that Reina has gone with Artemis and her clan. And also I love how they're chanting, but Lavina was like chanting like Hazel, Hazel, and then of course it happened to her when it was about the leader of the 5th cohort. So I thought that was really funny. I love her. She's such a great character. She's so fun, and that was super great. They're going back to New York in the Tower of Nero, so that should be exciting, and that is going to be the 5th and final book in the Trials of Apollo. I'm kind of curious to see how Rick is going to round out the entire Trials of Apollo series. I don't really know, but we'll see. We'll figure it out together. Yeah, this is by far my favorite book out of the whole series. Sorry, not sorry. It is what it is, but yeah, I will update you guys when I read the next book, but let me know which one is your favorite book so far. Who have been some of your favorite surprise appearances, and who do you wish that they had brought in to the Trials of Apollo series? Let me know, and I will see you guys in a few seconds for you, but later on for me. Long time no see. I mean, it's been a long time for me, but not a long time for you, because you literally just saw my last clip. But I just finished the Tower of Nero, which is the 5th and final book in the Trials of Apollo series, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed this book. What really got me was the arrow. You're telling me that I was feeling emotional about an arrow dying? Like, shut up. I was not expecting that, and I did. Did I tear up a little bit? Yeah, I did. There's no shame in that. The way it was talked about in the book, it was like, yeah, we did come a long way with the arrow and Apollo and their growth together and separately, but mostly them together, and how much it shaped Apollo in his time as Lester. And it was just really sad to see that he sacrificed himself. That was that. Overall, I really liked the book. I think this was my favorite book out of all of the books. I did like the last book, don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted, but this book in particular, it really felt like I was really in it from start to finish. Like, I was invested from start to finish. There weren't really times where I was like, I don't really want to read this right now. Like, I was truly invested, and it really went by so fast, so quick. You were just really like hooked in there. I mean, because at this point, like, we are so invested in this story. Like, we have literally gone down all the other freaking emperors and taking them down and learning, and like the character growth with Apollo and his friendships with Meg and everybody else along the journey, like Leo, Nico, Will, like especially the ones with his children, like Will. That growth with his children was so heartwarming to see. So I'm really glad that they had that there. And also, what else is there? Honestly, it was just really sweet to see him and Meg and their relationship, and like, even though like it was a little scary for her to go back to Nero and to kind of like have faith that she wasn't gonna, you know, go back to the old ways, it was good to see that like their friendship prevailed, their relationship prevailed, and they were able to come through with the plans, even though everything literally went wrong and nothing went according to plan, but also everything did go according to plan / prophecy. I was actually the most curious about the ending. I just assumed that he was gonna become a god anyway, like he was gonna prove himself in the trials and he was going to become a god again, because I really doubt that Rick Riordan will just kill off one of the 12 gods. I don't know, it just didn't seem like it, and I feel like they need him for the other stories to come, so I didn't think that they were going to kill him off, but I was curious to see what they're going to do about it, and I really liked the whole ordeal with Styx and how that kind of came full circle. That was really nice to see. And also it was interesting to see how they all interacted with one another once he was back in Olympus, with like kind of just showing that all the gods, like the gods that don't care, they truly don't give a shit, but the ones that do, they actually do, like his sister Hera, Athena, all that good stuff. I really don't like Zeus. Zeus, you aren't it. You ain't shit. He was doing it for the sake of the betterment of everybody, the freaking Python and whatever, and he knew that it had to be done. But like, you couldn't tell anybody about your plan. Like, it seemed a little harsh, like a little cold. Really seemed like you did not give a shit about Apollo at all. And I honestly don't even know if he does. Like, the fact that Hera seemed like she cared more about Apollo than Zeus, his own father, I don't know, a little weird, a little suspicious. I don't know about you guys, but I did like the ending. The ending was really sweet too, for him to go back to all the different places that he went throughout this entire series was really nice. Of course, he had to go back to Camp Half-Blood because he had to let the people know that he was still alive and well. Him going back to the way station, as well as Camp Jupiter, even seeing Percy and Annabeth and their whole college saga, Piper, Meg at the end. And I think the line that truly just got me the most is that she's just like, "Are you gonna come back?" And he's like, "Yeah, the sun always comes back up." And it's just like, their relationship is so wholesome and so sweet that like, that was the best part about the series, despite me not liking some of the books in the series like as much as the others. Like, not saying I didn't like them at all, but comparatively to the ones in the series, as well as the rest of the whole Greek / Rick Riordan mythological universe, they weren't my favorites, but I still appreciate them overall. They were still good, still well-rounded, and very sweet, very wholesome. I think that was my favorite part about it all, is Apollo and Meg's relationship. They are so funny together. They are so dynamic. They've come so far. They've learned so much, and I just really like them. They aren't my favorite duo, but they are cute. Like, I think they're one of my top favorite duos. Like, of course, Percy Annabeth Grover is my number one favorite. And then I also like, I don't even know. I'll have to rank my different groupings on who are my favorites. Like, maybe I'll do a tier ranking video after I finish all the books. Meg and Apollo are really funny together, so I really like them. Yeah, I'll do a tier ranking video, I think, after I finish all the books. But yeah, that is it, guys. I finally read through the entire of the Trials of Apollo series. It's been a long time coming. I feel like I've read these books in a span of like a month. I mean, given it was through the month of February, and February is a shorter month, but it was still a month nonetheless. It was still a long time. So yeah, I did it in a month. Now we are gonna move on to the Chalice of the Gods, which is the 5th book in the Percy Jackson series. So I'm gonna do a reading vlog on that, and I think moving forward, I think I will do like a reading vlog style, just because I feel like it's, I guess, nice for me to just like have one final thought and it's like less chaotic. But at the same time, I feel like I had so many thoughts that I kind of forgot about by the time that I did like a one last update video, or it just didn't seem as pressing for me to update you guys because it just like already passed, or my thoughts about it have already been answered. So that's why I didn't mention some things or forgot to mention some things. So I feel like might have not included some of the things that might have come up fresh, like when I freshly read the book, you know what I'm saying? So I think I will continue on with the reading vlog format, but if you guys end up liking this format more, let me know and I will do that for maybe like the Kane Chronicles or Magnus Chase. I don't know, but definitely for the Chalice of the God, I will definitely do a reading vlog. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and let me know which one is your favorite book in the Trials of Apollo series. Who's your favorite character? What do you like the most? Your favorite moments, favorite quotes, anything about the series. I would love to hear more. Let's talk about it in the comments. We can gush over everything, but until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye!